Hello everyone, welcome to Zaref Game Dev. In this video, we are going to create the Rotate Blast game in Unity. So it's going to be another simple hyper casual game, and the assets we are going to use for creating these games, they are going to be posted on the GitHub link, which is in the description. And if you did like this video, do like and subscribe to the channel. I've been busy trying to create a new game for my portfolio, and it was a simple 2 to 4 player game. So that's why there have been less videos for the last month, and almost for the next 5 to 10 games, they are going to be such simple games because I don't have enough time to make videos for the YouTube as I started a job. It doesn't pay much, but it's good. And there's not enough time for me to create videos, so that's why I picked up easy ones. And after most of these games are finished, I'm going to start another level based games. So we'll create different levels and mechanics. And that would be for the afterwards. And for now, let's just start creating this game. And as you can see, I've opened up a new Unity project, and that's how it looks currently right now. And inside the build settings, let's first change our build to Android. And there's just this scenes folder. First, let me get our editor folder, which is going to include our mm, so our editor folder is going to include our colors. So whenever we want to change the colors, we are going to directly get it from the palette. And after that, I am going to import all the assets from my previous project, which is going to be the tricky disk project. So let this import be finished first. So now it is changed to Android. And now what we are going to do is inside our package manager, we are going to uninstall a couple of packages. We don't need Visual Studio Code Editor, and we also don't need visual scripting, version control, and also the test framework and the JetBrains editor. So there are a couple of packages that won't get removed, like this test framework, and I think once for if you choose universal build, then there's going to be Linux tool chain or something. It won't be removed, and I think removing this packages, not I think, removing like unused packages will decrease the build size. So if you have the visual scripting turned on, the overall build size will be around 40 megabytes. But in an empty project, if you remove all the unnecessary packages, then the build size will be less, and maybe it like turns in the least it goes to around 20 megabytes. And we don't need the version control, but if you are using Plastic SCM or Unity Collaborate, you are going to need it. And also Visual Studio Editor, if it's not upgraded to the latest version, we'll update it to the latest version. And let's see, yeah, it's at the latest version, and here it is showing TextMesh Pro, but we don't have folder for TextMesh Pro. So let's try to add a TextMesh Pro text, which will tell us to import it. And after that, you are able to see this folder here. And we are going to delete our scenes folder. We are going to import it directly from our assets. So let's just delete our scenes folder. We don't need it. And for now, we are not going to save it. What we'll do is I'm going to go inside my, I think, yeah, it was angle launch, sorry. So inside our angle launch, I'm going to bring my prefabs, resources, scenes, and scripts folder inside this project. And as you can see, it is loading a couple of scenes. Now let's go inside our main menu, and we don't need this scene. So this is my previous game. I mean, yeah, if you have following the channel, you also know this game we already created. And let's change its resolution to 18:9 portrait. So this was the previous game we created, angle launch, and if there are not any more problems, we should be able to add open scenes. Let's go inside gameplay and add open scenes. Now let's also go inside edit preferences, not inside preferences. It should be inside, yeah, it should be in the project settings. So inside our project settings for the text mesh pro settings, we'll need to disable the warnings, and inside our, yeah, prefab naming, let's change this to _1, so we don't need to change it again. And let's close both of them. We'll open it when we need it. And these are both of our scenes, and as you can see, as we already created it before, if everything works fine, we should be able to play the scene. Now let's play the scene and let's see if it works. So everything is working perfectly fine, and there may be some problem with the tags. So if you are directly imported, as maybe the tags and everything are stored inside the project settings. So let's go inside prefabs and let's see what we need to do inside our tags. So we need to check if our tags are added, and we are going to add one more tag for our center. And now what we need to do is first set up our colors. So let's change our main menu first. There is no extra noise. I have fan turned on cause it's raining outside and I cannot turn on my air conditioner. So So our project was imported correctly. You can save it as a package and then import it, but the editor script was different and doesn't matter. So now what we need to do is first set up our colors for the main screen, and then we'll start changing our gameplay scene. So let's first set up our background color, and it's going to be our dark color. For the title, let's rename it to rotate blast, and its color is going to be the yellowish color. Why did okay, the yellowish color. And for all three of them, its background color is going to be the yellowish color. And for our image, let's set its color to the dark one, and similarly for both of our text, we are going to set the color to the black one. So that was our starting main menu. And for for all of these games, the menus and everything is going to be similar. The only thing we are going to change is the player logic. And here in this game, the player logic is almost like same, so we are not going to change anything. And here we have a white explosion. We'll duplicate the white explosion, and we are going to have a yellow explosion, YLLOW. And the yellow explosion, the color is just going to be our yellow color. So these are the two prefabs, and that should be it for the main menu. Now let's go inside our gameplay scene, and as you can see, the current camera is also set up inside our canvas score. It needs to be white, but let's show up our main screen. So this one needs to be black, everything else is white, but our score needs to be yellow because it was yellow in whatever we took the reference from. And as I'm a programmer, I don't know much about art, so let's just use the colors that were already shown. And there's going to be one more animator for our best, which is just going to change the color or maybe change the transparency, whatever we want. So let's add an animator to our best. And so let's create an animator, and we need to add an animator controller, and we are going to name it AC under slash best, and we will assign it to our best so it does not create one more animator controller. And when we click on our AC best, it's going to open a animator window, and we'll also need to open an animation window, which I'm going to dock it to here. So currently if we click best, as you can see, there's the AC best, there's no animation. We will create an idle animation, best under slash idle, which is going to do nothing. Let's just set the frames to 30 so it doesn't do much. And similarly, we'll create one more animation, which is going to be the best active. There are just two animations, and we'll set it to idle, and it is 30 frames, and let's set it to record. So if we go inside our scenes, we have this created, and let's go to the 15th frame, and what we'll do is we'll change its color to the dark one, so it automatically recorded our color. Now as you can see, at 30th frame we need to again change its color to a white one, so it records our color. So as you can see, if we hit play, it automatically shows. And let's stop the record, and let's uh, pull the whole screen and have it set up at 0, and let's start playing. So as you can see, this is our best, which is going to play if we score a new high score. And that was it for the end screen. Nothing else changed, everything's going to be similar. And we are going to show the end screen when the game finishes. There is also animation for the end screen, but we'll leave it for now. So the animation is just it comes from the top. We can have multiple animations, but for now this much is okay. So now we change the end panel. Now again we'll need to change the main camera's background color, which is going to be our dark color, so it is going to be white. And our obstacles are going to be similar, which has a tag of obstacles and set to trigger, but our center is going to have a sprite render component attached. I think I forgot to add. And let's add our circle, and it's going to be so let's make it sliced 1.6 by 1.6. We can make it higher, but it doesn't matter. And let's attach a circle collider 2D automatic, and it's going to be tagged as center. So this is going to be our center, nothing else, but it's going to have one more script, which should be inside our player score main menu manager game manager. Let's create a rotate script, and we are going to attach it to the center because the center is going to start rotating after a certain period of time. So there's going to be a rotate script attached here. We have rotate score main menu manager, and all the 7 scripts are done. Now what we need to do is change the player Particle system, the start center pose is going to be 0 0. Rotate radius, let's increase the speed, and most speed is going to be 16. And our player's initial position is going to be 0 2 and 0. So I think it should start now 2 0. So it's going to start at 0 angle, and then it will rotate left or right depending on wherever it wants. So currently we have 6 spokes. Let's change. Well, all of the rotations are different. So let's set every rotation to be 0 0 and 0. Now our first spoke is going to be 0, second is going to be at 45, third is going to be at 90, and fourth is going to be at 90 plus 45, and 90 plus 90, 180, and similarly our sixth is going to be at 25, and let's add two more, which is going to be at 2 to 5 plus 45, and the final one's going to be at 2 to 5 plus 90. So it has 8 spokes, so it have created our 8 spokes. The score is going to be similarly positioned, and array size is going to be same, but our IDs are going to be different for our newly added, which are the 5, which is going to have 6, and okay, 5 needs to have 5, 6 needs to have 5, 7 needs to have 6, and so we are just adding more spokes, and let's set this to 7. And now inside our main score, there is no logic change, everything else is going to be similar. Now what should we create first? uh, let's create the starting condition, which is when the game starts the player should start moving, and our camera is going to spawn from top to bottom. So this is just like single slice of our scene. Now let's set up our color for our prefab, which is going to be score, and by default its color, it is going to be our dark gray color. Now it looks better, and our active color is going to be purple color, and our inactive color is going to be gray color. Target color, there is not going to be any target, so we don't need to have much interaction with it. And we have our score, we have white and the yellow explosion. Our prefabs are already set up. Now everything else is going to be inside the scripting part. So let's start scripting. And what first is the first thing that is happening in our scene is our player is moving. So before moving, our camera will go from bottom to top, so it looks like our uh, scene is coming from the top direction. So we'll set up that animation, and then our player will start rotating, and we can interact with the player, and after a couple of seconds our center is going to start rotating, so it looks a little bit more difficult. So let's see, where should we start first? Let's just directly go inside scripting, and we'll check what we need to do and what we don't need to do. Let's load it. So let's see. Inside our scripts, our audio manager is going to be similar, no change. Inside our constants, we'll need Why the autocorrect didn't work? What the hell? Yeah, it is inside public constraint. We'll call it center, and it is going to be our center, which we created a new tag. We'll need to detect our center, center, and that was our main. Now we'll change our game manager later. Our main menu manager is going to be similar, and inside our score we have target color, but we are not going to need the target color, so because there's just one function. Let's remove target set. uh, the target is always going to be the center one, so there's no need for the target color. So our score is also set up. Now let's create our rotate script first, cause it's going to be easier. All it does is starts rotating. Now what got closed doesn't matter. So let's create a serialized field, and first one is going to be private float, and it's going to be start delay, or you don't want it to have a start rotating, but for now we'll set the start delay to 0 so we can check if our player is rotating or not. Rotate time and max angle, uh because the speed is going to be different. I mean, yeah. And is game finished? And I don't think we are going to need, yeah, we don't need is game finished. Now inside our start, what we'll do is we'll start the coroutine, and we'll call it I rotate, and we'll need to create the coroutine, so it's going to be animator I rotate. And let's create a return new wait for seconds of our start delay, and after that let's time elapsed is equals to 0f, and after that float time to complete, and we are going to set it from random dot range multiplied by the rotate time, and it's going to be 0.75 to 1.25. Similarly, we are going to add our angle, how much angle it wants to rotate, and again it's going to be random dot range from 0.75 to 1.25 multiplied by the max angle, so it will rotate that much amount in the time to complete amount. And our end rotation for the start is going to be 0f, and we'll add our angle to the end rotation, and after that angle. So currently we are adding, but afterwards we'll need to decide the magnitude, and after that we need to check if we need to add or multiply. So we'll create one more variable which is going to be float uh, direction magnitude, and for now we'll set it to 1f, but if it is different then we'll set it to uh, some other value. And let's create where fix update is equals to new wait for fixed update, uh, and our start rotation is going to be transform dot rotation dot Euler angles, and v3 temp rotation. And while true, we are going to rotate. There are some errors. Where are the errors? No errors. And while our time elapsed is less than equal to 1f, then what we are going to do is time elapsed plus is equals to speed, and we'll multiply by the time dot x delta time, and our speed is going to be time to complete and rotation. Float speed, it is going to be 1 divided by time to complete, and our direction magnitude is 1f, but we'll also need to multiply our yeah, we don't need to multiply our direction magnitude, but inside our temp rotation is going to be transform start rotation plus time elapsed multiplied by angle multiplied by v3 dot forward, and finally we'll need to multiply our direction magnitude, and our direction magnitude is not going to change. Transform dot rotation, it is going to be a temporary rotation, and we'll need to pass the quaternion dot Euler. So it will convert it to rotation, and we are going to here return fixed update. So it will set it up, and when it is finished, we'll set the time elapsed to 0f. Time to complete is everything's going to be similar. Just instead of and rotation, it is going to be why did we need the end rotation? And our direction is going to be random dot range from 0 to 2 is equals to 0 multiply is equals to if it is 0, then we will multiply by 1f, else we'll multiply by negative 1f. So lower chance for the direction magnitude, and I don't think we need the end rotation. Start rotation and rotation. Yeah, we just needed our offset. But we already have our offset, so our end rotation was not needed. And this should rotate our center object in a random direction. That should be it for the rotate. Now to check if our rotate is working, what should we do? Let's just start the game, and I think there should be some problems. Yeah, there should be so many problems. Pause, we removed the target set, and now we'll need to change our game manager, and afterwards we'll need to also change our player. So more scripts need to be changed. So our score is set up, our rotate is set up. We'll set up our player later. Our main manager is set up. We'll need to set up our game manager. Our constants and the audio manager is set up. So we'll first start with our game manager. So we have game manager instance, stack, score animator, score clip. So all I'm doing is just comparing the scripts. Active sound script and our inactive sound script, update color and update move color, and I don't think we are going to need the update move color. Yeah. Total targets, which is again going to change, and let's remove the update move color. We only need to have the update score color. Current move index. What was our move index? I think we are just only changing the current target index, and similarly we are only changing our current target index. Let's also remove this, and it will create problems, but we'll fix it up. And after that everything else is going to be similar, but inside our start, after just setting up our audio manager, we are going to call our coroutine, which is going to be I start enumerator, and we'll need to create this coroutine, which should be at the bottom. Private enumerator I start. And let's go at the bottom and we'll create private enumerator using system.collections and using system.collections.generic if we need the generic ones. Private enumerator, and this one is going to be the I start game. And we need an enumerator because we are going to move the camera. So to move the camera is going to need serialized field, private vector 3, our camera start pose, and our camera end pause. So our end pause is just going to be 0, and one more serialized field, private float, time to move camera. And what we are going to do is camera dot main dot transform dot position is going to be our camera start pose, and our score text dot game object dot set active is going to be false, and we are going to yield return move camera. Here we'll pass our camera and pose, and we'll need to create the private enumerator move camera and v3 and pose. And similarly here we are going to create the script for moving the camera, and let's first get the camera transform, which is going to be camera dot main dot transform. And after that let's create a time elapsed 0f, then v3 start pose is going to be camera transform dot position, v3 offset is equals to end position minus start position, and float speed is going to be 1 divided by time to move camera, and while our time elapsed is less than 1f, what we are going to do is time elapsed plus is equals to speed multiplied by time dot fixed delta time, and our camera transform dot position is going to be start position plus time elapsed multiplied by offset, and yield return where fixed update is going to be new, wait for fixed update, and we are going to be year return, wait for year return fixed update, and that should do the trick. And finally your camera transform dot position is going to be your input, and this should move the camera. And what we need to do is when our camera moves completes moving, so we'll pick up the code from our start and we'll paste it after our camera finishes moving. So first our score was set to 0. Now we need to turn it on after having it to 0. So our score text dot game object dot set active to true, and so we are updating the score and also playing everything perfectly, and we'll also need to call the game started, which will need to create it again. So we are going to create two more events: game started and game ended, public unity action. And to use the unity action using system.collections unity engine.events, public static event action of type, let's just yeah, public static event action, event of type action, and this are going to be the game started and game ended. And here we are going to invoke our game start event, and our move camera is done, our start game is done. Now when our score is updated, this is also done. Game over. We are going to need to make a coroutine, so let's create a start coroutine, call it game over, and instead of private void it's going to be private enumerator. And what we are going to do is here return move camera to new vector 3, and here we are going to pass camera start pose dot x, camera start pose dot y, and camera start pose dot z, but our y position is going to be negative. So after that is done, it's going to show our and we need to set our score object to false. So everything else is similar, nothing more, but if we hit a high score, then we need to play the score animation. So let's go inside our score and we'll need both of them. So let's go game over, serialize field, and let's create our private animator, best animator, or it's going to be for the best. Serialize field, private animation clip, and we'll call it best clip, best animator, and best clip. Now, whenever this happens, we'll call best animator dot play, best clip dot name, and we are going to play in the negative first layer, starting from the 0th position. So it will play. Our update score is done, game started, and game ended is done. That was pretty easy. So now what we need to do is just change the values, and we'll need to have something to do with the player. So let's go inside Unity and let's see what we can fix. So there are not any errors. Game manager does not contain a message. Okay, update move color. I think we removed update score color, and we'll need to change the update score color. And I think we should just rename both of them. Our game ended is not used, so let's go inside Visual Studio. And there are two errors. They are because we are just going to use on move set. Actually, it was only the on target set, active and inactive color. So this was not supposed to be like this, but let's see. On target set, on target set, and on target set. So the game starts correctly. There should be no more problems. And let's set up the values for our player and the game manager. So doesn't matter if it is not invoked. Our player would start rotating, but let's see what is going to be our starting position. 40. Let's set it to -40. Total score targets are 8. And score best at the animator. And the clip which is going to be inside our best active -40, -10, 0, 0, -10, cause that's our main camera position. Don't forget to add the -10 or it will create some errors cause our main camera instead of front it will be at the back and we won't be able to see the camera, see the screen. So that's it for our main camera inside our prefab score. That's also set up. Now let's go inside the scenes and let's see what errors we are going to get. So it is working perfectly fine and there is a problem. There is not any problem. Compare approximately, failed on expression, quaternion dot internal. I think we added the rotate script, but there was some problem. Yeah. Let's see our rotate time. It is going to be how much? Max angle, let's set it to 90 and rotate time, let's set it to 1.6. Let's set this to 120 and our start delay, let's just set it to 0. There was a problem with the rotate time. Now let's go inside the main menu and let's hit play. And as you can see, it is rotating. And as we are not set up our player, uh, we can also see the best is 3 and currently our active is going to be that, and we need to set up our animator. So let's set up our animator first. So let's go inside the gameplay scene and inside our end panel and best score animator, idle and active. So let's see which one is idle and which one is active. So we'll need to open up our animation window, and as you can see our idle has the different animations. So what we need to do is Let's just copy and paste it inside our active, and we'll delete it from our idle. Idle and active both are similar. Let's set it to 30 frames. And let's change it to this and delete. There's no need for anything. Now this one is our idle and this one is our active, and it should be fixed. Now when the game starts, our player needs to start rotating, and that will need to do it inside our yeah, that will need to do it inside our rotate. And our start rotation is going to be different from the center, so instead of delay of 1, we'll just set it to 16 so it doesn't interfere. And everything else is going to be done with the player. So rotate radius, center pose, explosion, prefab, our which is going to the white explosion, and when we hit, we are going to have yellow explosion. Let's just stop it. Restart. Let's see what we can do with the particle system. Instead of 1, we'll set it to 0.8. Start size is so only the player script is remaining, and that also is going to be similar, so there are not going to be much changes. uh, Starting its position at 0 to 0, and size is going to be 0.64, rotate speed 180, move speed 32, and particle system duration is going to be 5. Point and start size going to be again decreased. Color white, emission rate 16. And finally, we are going to only show our particle system when it is going from top and bottom. Size over lifetime, texture sheet animation, everything else is going to be default. Now we are able to end the game, but there's some problems with it. So let's see our player whenever it hits a score particle, not the score particle or score object, it is let's decrease the time. So inside our game manager, instead of 0.6, let's set it to 0.8. We can have like easing function, but yeah, as expected. So currently it is attaching to the score, and our trail is not also looking good. So we'll also need to change it, which is going to be our starting size. Instead of 0.32, let's set it to 0.5. And now it should be much better. Now start rotation 0.4. Yeah, 0.4 looks good enough. So now we are going to start coding our player. So currently, what errors do we have? So our game manager, which is going to be move camera, will need to set up inside our start function. We need to set our update score color before we are moving the camera. Now it's good. And afterwards we are going to show the score animator and the game started event. Now the game started event we are going to use to start our player to rotate, and that's going to be our final piece of script. And we are going to have a couple of things. So let's see what we need. So we have our start, center, pose, rotate radius, can rotate, move, shoot, current rotate angle, and no direction. And here we just have explosion prefab. Let's rename it to white explosion prefab. And we are also going to have a yellow explosion prefab, which we are going to need when we hit a score. And it's going to be particle system dot emission, and our emission module, let's just call it trail particle, and we need to set it up in the awake function, which is going to be trail particle is going to be get component particle system and dot emission, which is its trail particle module, and our trail particle dot enabled is going to be false. We don't need to be enabled at the start. And update is going to be similar, but we are going to have enable and our disable. And here in our enable and the disable, we are going to have two functions for the game started and the game ended. So let's create a private void game started, and when our game starts we can start shooting and we can start rotating, and can rotate is going to be false and can shoot is going to be false, so it will only start rotating when we will shoot. And inside our shoot it's going to be similar, but when we start shooting our trail particle dot enabled is going to be true, and when we hit the center it is going to be false. And similarly inside our end game we are going to call the end game function, and a white explosion prefab is spawned and we are going to call the loose clip. Now in our update everything else is similar, can rotate and can move if we are rotating and if we are moving. So what needs to be changed? So instead we'll need to hit game manager dot game started plus equals to game started, and game manager dot game started game start. Yeah, that should be fine. So now our player is rotating. We can also shoot. It is also shooting. But what is happening? It is when we are colliding with the score, it is setting the center position. So when we collide with the score, it does not need to change the center position. What we need to do is end game, and here instead of start rotating, only you need to do is update the score, reverse the move direction, and that should be good. And next condition is going to be if collision dot compare tag, and we are going to compare tag constants dot tags dot center, then we are going to set this here. So center pose, and also we'll disable the trail particle. Can move is going to be false, can shoot is going to be true, and can rotate is going to be true. And let's first get our direction first. And it's going to be transform dot position minus center position, and we'll normalize it. Now tangent will always return an angle from negative 0 to 180. So let's first get our cos angle, and it is going to be mathf dot acos, which will return the cos, and it is going to be for the direction of x, and we'll need to convert it to radian to degree. And similarly, instead of direction dot y, and here it will be a sine, and instead of cos angle it's going to be the sine angle. Now what we need to do is set up our current rotation angle, and we'll multiply the move speed by -1f, and we'll also multiply with the rotate speed by -1f. And our current rotate angle, it is going to be if our cos angle multiplied by if our sine angle, which is going to be less than 0 cause it shows from -90 to +90, then we'll multiply it by -1f, else we'll multiply it by 1f. And that was a problem for the angle. So if we directly use the a tan, it will only return from -90 to 90. It won't show the half part. So this will show us, so cos angle returns from 0 to 180, and if it is the negative direction, then we'll invert the angle. And after that, there's no need for return, but doesn't matter. And similarly, we are playing this count, we are updating the score, and we need to change the speed direction, and we also need to spawn a yellow particle prefab, but instead of white we are going to use our yellow, and we'll delete it after 3.2 seconds, and that should be it for our player. And what we'll need to attach with our player is only the yellow explosion prefab. So let's go inside Unity and let's see if everything is working perfectly fine. Let's hide the particle system, center, and white, and the yellow explosion prefab. This one's the white and this one's the yellow, and now there are not any problems. So let's go inside scenes and let's hit play. And when the game ends, we'll need to stop the coroutine. So there was an error. What was the error? I think because we didn't rename the center as center. So let's go inside the gameplay, and we need to tag our center as CENTER and our circle collider to be a type of trigger. Always some errors happen. So let's see, it is working. The game is ending, we are getting the high score, and our game ended is not event. So let's clear all player prefs. And when the game ends, what is going to happen is we need to stop rotating. So we'll need to create inside the rotate an event which is going to invoke the game ended event, and our game ended event is going to be invoked inside our game over. So when the game ends inside a game manager, uh, I start game over. We are going to invoke our game ended event, game ended dot invoke, and inside our rotate, we are going to have a private pool is game finished, and inside the start game finished is going to be false, and let's add an on enable, an on disable, and private void game ended, and here we'll set is game finished to true, and whatever game manager dot game ended plus is equals to game ended. Let's copy this, and here we are going to call minus, and here instead of true we'll use while is game finished, and similarly and not is game finished. So it will only work if the game is not finished, and when the game finishes, it will stop rotating, and that should be it. And after this game should be finished, let's go inside our main menu and let's hit play. Now there are no more errors. Let's hit restart, and if we score a 1, as you can see, the animation is also playing. And there's a problem with the starting angle. We need to get the starting angle inside our player. So current rotate angle, which is going to be 0, but let's set it to 90f, or we can get it from transform dot rotation dot Euler angles dot z. Current rotate angle, yeah. Yeah. Let's just set it at 90f so it doesn't does any errors. And the starting angle was 0, so it was starting from 0, but now we set it to 90, so there is not any problems. And again, our time to move is too large, so let's set it to 0.4. And that was the end of this game. Again, this game was finished in around an hour, so that was good for some practice, as I have not created any games for the last 1 month, and also need to like create the when will it start, 16 seconds. So okay, if it starts fast, then there will be some errors, and as you can see, sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's fast. So there's some variation, as it's going to be just a simple game. We are not adding much logic, but that was it for this game. And what should we talk about? Yeah, about my game. So I just launched a game on the Play Store, and it's called Box the Letter. And for the promo, I'll need to create a video for it. So that's why I was busy for the last 1 month. And also for each month for my portfolio, I'm trying to create one game, and I'm just trying. So let's see how much time does it take for me to have my mobile portfolio up and running. And you'll be able to see these games in another playlist, which I'm going to create like a short ad video. And if you do like the game, search for Box the Letter, and the publisher name is my own name, Kshitij Solanki, so you can get it from the Play Store. And if you guys watched till now, thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in the next video.